Yeah, I've got to say something about Zionism again. What do you do? They lied. They lied and lied and lied and lied. See, this whole idea of establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, it's all got from some kind of argument from gematria, which is based on some supposed numerical value of the words in Hebrew, of sentences taken from the Torah. Now there's one of the most frequently encountered example of gematria being used to prove that Israel is going to be re-established in 1948 is like a treatment of Leviticus 25:10. Now the one thing that has to be pointed out in Leviticus 25:10, it's about the year of Jubilee. Now the year of Jubilee had a number of purposes. It was the seventh, it was the after the 7 sabbatical years, there was to be a year of Jubilee, which is the 50th year. The 50th year, now the whole point about the year of Jubilee was that in Israel, in ancient Israel, there was land which was all allotted to certain tribes. And the land which was allotted to certain tribes was allotted to families. And so every family had its own allotted piece of land, which was impossible to be alienated permanently from the family. And so every 7 years there'd be basically a year, a sabbatical year, where nothing was grown. And they let the land lie fallow. And the 50th year, the Jubilee year, was the year that they let the land lie fallow again. But if in the preceding 50 years, land had been sold or leased by a family to some other entity, some other family or some other tribe, the land had to be returned every year, every 50 years, to its original owners. So the patrimony of the family and the tribe remained in their hands in perpetuity. Now, not in verse 10 of the Leviticus 25, not in verse 10, but elsewhere, it talks about how the land must be restored to the family every Jubilee year. Now, for some strange reason, in translations of the Bible produced by Jewish groups, the verb which is used in Leviticus 25:10 is it's usually, it means, it's the same root word as Shabbat, or to rest, So the land must rest every, but in Jewish translation of the Bible, that verb is translated as the people must return to the land instead of the people must rest the land, which is what it actually says in Leviticus 25:10. Now, there is why would you translate the verb from rest? Why would you distort it and insert a false meaning, an incorrect meaning, return, when it doesn't have a lot of meaning in the context? It doesn't fit the context anyway, because the land in verse 25:10 is talking about the land already in their possession. They haven't gone anywhere. Even if they leased their land to someone else and they were living in a town, they still haven't left the land. In fact, in the Leviticus 25, there is no sense at all of exile from the land. And in fact, an incorrect, a deliberately false translation of the verb in 25:10 makes it sound like there's, well, this is used by rabbis to say that there's a sense of returning from exile in Leviticus 25:10, which is completely made up, completely invented and imagined. Now any gematrial value of any word in Leviticus 25:10, you can say, well, it comes out, we've added this and added that, and it comes out as 1948. But I mean, gematria is nonsense to start with, and trying to tack onto this gematria value of 1948, trying to tack on that meaning of return is just deceptive and false. And I mean, there is, and so there is no, I mean, gematria is just this sort of sleight of hand where you can get, there's people who for a joke can write out all kinds of phrases and mystical sounding words which come out with the same gematria value of 1948. I mean, it's random, and it's not, it's just, it's dishonest. But the fact is, there's no support at all from Leviticus 10, at any rate, for any date for the return to the land, or a return at all. And so there's no actual support for 1948 being a return of the chosen people to Israel. And the only thing that's happened is some European Jews have moved there in 1948. Now, the new temple, they've been unable to shift the Muslims away off the Temple Mount, and they never will be able to. And the thing's still there. I mean, Napoleon Bonaparte captured Jerusalem in around 1799, and the mosque was there, and the same mosque is still there, despite all the riots and resurgence of the past 200 years. The same mosque is still there, and nothing has happened. And all the brawlings and bawlings of Zionism have been able to change a single thing about that. And they won't anyway, because the Jews are not God's chosen people. St. Paul in the book of Romans said that the chosen people are the people who believe in Jesus and follow the Messiah in spirit and in truth. And not somebody who says, I'm born, I have a certain patrimony, a certain ancestry, and I just go through and perform some rituals and voila, I'm right with God. I mean, the New Testament is, in almost every verse, loudly contradicts and opposes that way of thinking. Jesus said, God, in the days that are to come, men will worship God in spirit and in truth, and not on Jerusalem or Mount Gerizim or anywhere. God seeks worshippers who worship him in spirit and in truth. Anybody, regardless of their ancestry and language and culture, anybody can be a worshipper of God and offer him fitting sacrifices of praise and not dead animals. And this is what St. Paul said, that we are the true Israel, and who place no confidence in the flesh. And the flesh is patrimony, circumcision, rituals, dress, language, whatever you want. God doesn't care. He said to Abraham, I have mercy on whom I will have mercy. He said to Abraham, I'm no regarder of persons. Rich, Jewish, God doesn't care. He's not concerned about any of that. That is the message of the New Testament. And it's said in 1,000 ways in 1,000 places. And it's restated hundreds of times. And there is no promise to any supposed Jewish people or self-described, self-identified, self-imagined Jewish people who think they can make themselves Jewish with a haircut and some clothes and learning a bit of Hebrew and some gematria. There's no promise to anyone like that. There's no promise to God that he's ever going to have any concern for them. The Jewish people, whoever they are now, Jesus said, I will make them wanderers among the nations. I will scatter them among the nations. And he predicted the destruction of Jerusalem and the death and by disease and famine and the exile of the remnant of the Jewish people. And this is what happened. And there hasn't been a Jewish temple in Jerusalem since then. And Jesus is Lord. And you can't argue with him. And you can't contradict his will, no matter how much you try. You can rouse up the whole world, rouse up world empires, get every politician and every civil servant and every businessman eating out of your hand or bowing or just slavering and worshipping at your feet. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can't contradict Jesus' will. He said in the Olivet Discourse that Jerusalem will be trampled down by the Gentiles until the time of the Gentiles is over, and it's still there. It's still there. The mosque is still there. The pagan mosque is still there, and the Jews, these self-identified Jews, have been unable to do a single thing about it, no matter how hard they try. No matter how many politicians they've got swearing undying loyalty, and now how many central banks there are in the world, and no matter how clever and all-encompassing is their military industrial complex, God laughs at them. He has them in derision. Why do the nations rage against the Lord and His anointed? And that's an answer to that question is Babylon, but we'll get onto that.